It was just an amazing project to work with the guys from Giver, and we just wanted to sit down and chat on how it all developed, how it started, and how it started, how we got here. And Giver was such an awesome client and partner to work with, and just they brought so much to the table as far as just fun and energy and authenticity. And I think when they came to us with the problem of how to grow their brand and structure around their marketing, just tracking and analytics and just getting their voice out there, I was super excited about it just because I knew what we could do and I knew what the future looked like and how we can kind of plug and play to get there. So, while we were initially just stepping in as their interim marketing director, it really grew from there and to the culmination of the site that we just launched for them. But it was just awesome for the three of us to get out to Jackson Hole and actually meet their team and actually spend time in the mountains and in their community of what makes them who they are. And it's just been such a fun project and such a fun partnership. And it's been ongoing, and we've got busy season approaching and a lot to do. So initially we were brought in to oversee marketing, and really, TJ, that's where we handed it off to you, and Bejoy, we handed it off to you to run point on making sure they were happy. And TJ, you're kind of the mastermind behind point A and point B.
Yeah, the advertising and just making sure that it's organized, I think was step one. Seeing that different agencies, different marketing ideas, goals, objectives was not all over the place, but definitely a lot of improvement to be made there. But streamlining it, tightening it up, making sure that the ads are saying what they're supposed to say was really step one. And then step two was now implementing and working on the conversions and really just helping their marketing grow. So when we came in October and really took it over, in November we saw a 20% increase, by keeping the budget down. So we were able to better targeting, better structure, rebuild that ecosystem and get them in the right spot. So yeah, step one.
Yeah, I think when you talk about step one, I think really the importance for us was just to gather information on what they've been doing, what's working, what's not, and then establish a foundation. We always talk about these two phases, or at least I do, of foundation and then acceleration. And so first we have to build the foundation, and the client's not happy because they're not seeing immediate results. But I think that's probably where you come in on keeping them, in context of the bigger picture.
I think Giver is such a great example of, sometimes we do websites, we do marketing, right? Mm-hmm. But in this situation, their marketing was only going to get more enhanced by the site. Like the site had a very specific reason and purpose. Mm-hmm. So tying those together, this was like one of the clients where that made a huge difference. We weren't just running these in silos. Like we had to improve the website and redo it, not just for like aesthetic purposes, but because, TJ, as you're doing digital marketing, the impact of your efforts based on, the site. So.
Yeah, Joel mentioned something there that, not a trigger word, but reporting. We went through 4 years of data. We talked about what they were spending, where they were going, what pages were getting what, and really time spent on the whole behavioral background to that. I did gloss over that, but it wasn't like these recommendations were just coming out. We really got in the trenches and figured out where they had been to help make that recommendation.
Yeah, and it wasn't easy from day one. I mean, we had to really fight to even win the business, and Bill and team really put us through the paces. And one thing they pushed us on before they gave us the green light was, what is your plan and how do you improve this? And the two levers that we talked about right away were overall site traffic and conversion rate. And so our whole campaign was geared at improving those. And then that just made the need for a new website even that much more clear. Like you talked about, you took 5 clicks.
We're just reducing the clicks, looking at the customer experience, the journey. When somebody comes to the website, what is their experience like? Do they really grasp what they're all about? And our conclusion was no, that needs to get improved. Implementing the flows to the emails. It wasn't just ads, it wasn't just the marketing of look and feel, but how those communications go out, what timing, and all that stuff. So there was really a lot to it, more than just saying, hey, let's make it look pretty.
I think with, this website was a massive project.
Yeah.
There's obviously a lot of moving pieces, a lot of things that, we had to think about, plan through. Leo and Abin, you guys were working on copy and design. Before we even kicked off the project, what were some things that you guys were like anticipating as you moved into this?
Yeah, so as far as the website, with any e-commerce website, the main thing you want to do, like you guys said, is increase conversions, and a lot of that leads itself to having a good user experience. So, going through and looking at, other competitors in the field and thinking about Giver's target audience and what's going to make it easiest for them to navigate the site, that was key. And, with Giver too, and them being a lifestyle brand, I think one thing we wanted to hit on was kind of telling their story through the website and, giving people an opportunity to discover, more about what Giver is, who they are, and who their products are made for. And one of the cool things that Giver does is they offer personalization on their blog. So, they're trying to figure out different ways we can make this site cooler or more of a fun experience for people. Where those opportunities kind of stood, we found a way to actually give the user the ability to see what the blog would look like with their initials, populated on it, kind of like a preview, type of thing. So,
Yeah.
It's awesome. I think a big part of it is storytelling. You know,
Yeah.
like that's such a huge part of it. Like, what was your
Yeah, absolutely. So even leading up to the site, from the first marketing efforts we had these field notes and all kinds of things like that, like kind of updates to their original site. So I felt like going into the website project, I had a good understanding of the Giver voice already. So that kind of like set me up for success in that sense. And the cool thing about their brand too, from a content perspective, is they have all of that voice stuff kind of defined. It's all right there in the brand book. And so our job was to take that, improve upon it, find ways to add new pages and new, better phrasing, but while still keeping everything on brand. And then also taking their existing SEO and, inserting more keywords, doing keyword research on each individual product page, and just making sure that that site not only maintains their kind of existing framework of content strategy, but just kind of elevating it to a new height.
Yeah, and I think that, this client, like, it's not just words that they're obsessed with their brand, and like they sent us a box of these, and the homework assignment for us was to read through them, and everybody that was working on this project had to be intimately familiar with what their brand was and how they spoke and what they were about, and I think that really probably helps you guys a lot.
there were even some visual components out of the brand book that we were able to take and apply to the website. There's things like cool little sketches and stuff that really like speaks to what their brand is in a visual way. And with the website, although we wanted to keep it simple, keep it easy to use, we also explored where are there opportunities where we could take, items from this brand book and have them dispersed off the site in different ways. So,
I will never forget a call that I had with Bubba, where at one point we're probably halfway through the project, and he said, "I'm going to trust this project to you guys." Right? Like you got clients where they want to be heavily involved, and they've got a lot of feedback and thoughts and things, which they had their fair share. But that was the first time where he was like, "I'm letting your team make the decisions. So I'm relying on your content, your design, your digital marketing strategy. All I asked, like Joel said, was I want everyone to read the brand book and understand who we are, and that gives me the confidence that the decisions you're making are based on like us knowing the brand." So that was a moment where I was like, "Oh wow!" Like that just added another level of responsibility to us, because we've never had someone just hand us the keys and say, "Go build."
But it's a dream scenario for us too at the same time.
It is for us,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Because for us, it's this like push and pull back and forth of us saying, here's what's the best practice, and them saying, is it on brand, is it off brand? But then I remember that turning point was like, they threw us the keys, and it was like, like you said, the responsibility for us definitely increased, but I think, we rose to the challenge.
So TJ, I mean, a lot of digital marketing and really driving conversions and the sales, like that's a lot of pressure on a daily basis, So when we were going into this website project, what were some of the things that was most important to you to be like keeping in mind and checking the team on?
The data, it was like, we mentioned this before, it's knowing where you've come from, knowing what has previously worked, and don't mess that up, right? It wasn't horrible. It wasn't like a tragedy, but it was just saying that, like, how can we build upon that? So, that was a big challenge, is to, not come in and say, hey, we have the keys, and then just hit the gas and then go right into a wall. But then also look at what's not working and see how those two can blend together. How can we modernize? How can we level up and get them ready to grow and become bigger and become a true national brand instead of, something that's a little pocket in there. So,
Yeah, and I think you touched on something important there as far as aspirationally who they want to be and where we want to take them. And I remember they flew in and we had this grand session where we can understand and kind of debate. And one thing I really appreciate about Giver is they're not afraid of rumbling. What they call rumbling. Like, if you have an opinion, like let's rumble, let's talk, and let's figure it out. And I remember that conversation where there's the positioning between premium, and we all pushed back and we're like, this is not a premium play. You're a high quality brand and high quality glove company. And it was just awesome to see their openness and humility in that of just embracing it and running with it. And then we were able to kind of fine tune everything from there.
I really think so. The website, the design of it, level, like that communicates that premium, right? Seeing to be able to personalization in there, having that look and feel, everything being nice and neat. The content, the descriptions in there of talking about their journey and where they've come from really all support that. Everything that we've been doing, even though that was a challenge, right, is to admitting to that and coming to that self-realization. But what are we going to do about it? And we really took it by the wheel and said, let's go.
Yeah, and the whole premium, our whole positioning, and one thing I'm proud of our team is it's not just like a service provider vendor relationship. We really got in the trenches. We were charged to get in the trenches with them, and we really did. And for us to say to look at the whole process from top to bottom, not just the website or the marketing process of how's ops, how's delivery, how are returns handled, how's customer service, and then framing the whole experience of this is a high quality brand versus a premium experience. And then taking that challenge to say, okay, we're going to fix this. And within 30 days, their mistakes or inventory issues like went down almost zero. So it was cool to identify that and then them respond as well. And then aspirationally, we looked at brands like Patagonia, we looked at North Face, we looked at Yeti, we looked at Canada Goose. And so I think we spent a lot of time, and Albert, I know you like mood boarded it out or whiteboarded it out as far as like all these different elements from all these other brands of what was working and aspirationally who they could become.
Yeah, we did a lot of research designing the site, putting together the site just to look at different ways of navigating and browsing on the homepage, different ways of displaying collections. And one thing we did with the new site is emphasize more so on other products besides gloves. Even though, gloves are their primary product, we wanted to definitely touch on other product offerings as well and make those visible to the target audience. So one thing that was interesting with this process too is diving a little bit deeper into Giver's customer base and what they like and what they're looking for in the website. And we did a lot of user experience testing and were able to validate a lot of our opinions and reasoning. So the whole process was
and even down to buying gloves from other companies and not to be named, but buying gloves and seeing how were they packaged, how did they feel, how are they positioning themselves, how are they using words on the display and packaging, and learning as much as we could from that.
What I appreciate about just our process, we've had many conversations with them, and they were always like, they would share their challenges, and they're like, we want to understand that you guys are feeling that and experiencing that and living that out. And I remember so many times, TJ especially carried such a big front of that, but to constantly on your mind, okay, looking at the sales and how are we doing on this? And, you and everybody else here are walking advertisements for Giver because that's 90% of your clothing now.
Easy on the 90%. I do have a lot. I do enjoy it.
All right, over 50%. Yeah, he's rocking Giver all the time, but it just shows that as a team, we are in it. We're ingrained in our client's business. It's not Joel and I had many conversations where we're like, this has to work. We want these guys to grow. This website project has to work.
We got into the trenches with them for sure with, daily meetings, meeting with their team, working with their email team, their PR team, how all those social, all these elements come together. It wasn't just, we were only focused on our silo. We were a part of it. And that was really incredible.
Yeah, and I think we became an extension of their team and are an extension of their team to help them navigate kind of an interim period where they're between marketing directors, and then we kind of parachuted in. And for us, it was just really fun for us to parachute in and take control, and down to you guys doing one-on-ones with some of their team and motivating them, pushing them, and kind of rising the tide for everybody.
What's one thing you guys learned going through this now that the site is live and we're ramping up the marketing again? What's one takeaway from the last few months on this project?
Yeah, I think my main takeaway from the last couple months in particular is that it's a good thing to have a lot of eyes on a site. We all spent days and days internally kind of looking over each individual page, and kind of every second and third check, you find a little thing, even if it's just
Yeah.
a spacing between a period and the next word. Having all of us kind of committed to not just hit and launch, but like making sure that it's all set, everything's perfect. I think that kind of thing just always goes such a long way.
Yeah.
And I'll take that into future projects.
Man, the list is long. I don't
It's
have
hard to
one.
single
I know, because the complexity of it. I
yeah.
guess is maybe let's just say that is that like
Sure.
acknowledging how complex it is. That it isn't just a set it up,
Yeah.
observe, report, optimize. Continue to go. All these things are impacted. We talked about how it fits in with their fulfillment, how it fits in with their customer experience, how all these processes that go together. It's not just a website or an ad that goes out. I think just the complexity of it is a much different experience.
Yeah, for me, I think the takeaway was just being able to come into an organization that's doing X in revenue and kind of all over the place as far as marketing and advertising, web and sales and ops, and to be able to come in and streamline it and say, okay, our goal is to go 1.5x or 2x or 3x that initial revenue, and be able to do it, and be able to do what we said we were going to do as far as lifting overall traffic, lifting the conversion rate, and just to be able to give them some peace of mind has been my biggest takeaway. Giving them some type of consistency. Their accounting folks, or their head of accounting, told me, and she probably told you guys too, that we're the only marketing people that she enjoyed talking to, because every time everybody else, it was, I need more money, or I want to spend this, or I want to do that, and we were the first ones. I mean, she told me we were the first ones that went into it saying, we don't want you to spend any more. We actually want you to spend less. We want to track you better. We want to be more efficient.
Yeah.
And I think that they all saw that we really cared. So for me, I think it was a great case study of like how we can parachute in, and while the ship is on fire and everybody's saying everything's fine, where we can actually help give them that consistency and reliability and the results that they wanted.
I would say, from my end of it, it is a complex project, like TJ said, and you've got a lot of different people that have like decisions in it or need to review. You've got a lot of development pieces, design pieces. So trying to organize that in a way where there's some kind of a flow, it makes it easier to like navigate, but also just what do you do with all the ideas that come in, right? Like more ideas means more time, which means more hours, which means, so controlling some of that to say, okay, we appreciate all of the ideas and all the things that you guys have, but we have to focus right now on what is going to move the needle, and that has been our North Star, I think, from this is let's take all the ideas and let's put it in a batch, let's see what we can do. But ultimately, we were going back to them constantly and saying, guys, let's just focus on what is going to help move this needle at launch. And I think that grounded both sides of the teams because we stayed focused, and I think it just helped us to be able to, and even just our QA process and how we were going about all the documentation that TJ had and Nate was working on really helped keep this so much more organized. And we can always find ways to improve and continue to be better, right? That's what these exercises are sometimes, is how do we continue to be better as a team?
Yeah.
How do we push design? How do we take that extra time on content? How are we looking at more data? Like, how do we organize the client, set the right expectations, all that stuff. So I think we can learn something from everything, but that was one thing I think I took away is that organization and that constant communication, even in brutal honesty, like, it makes a difference,
I would say one thing that stood out toward the end is just how important the visual representation of your product is, whether it's photography or a mock-up, like a digital rendering. I think having high quality visual representations of your product on the site does a lot in terms of people coming to it and being able to, anticipate what it will look like when it's on them or how they interact with it. If you have, low res or iPhone shots, I think that can definitely take away from, how appealing the product looks on your site and the experience of your site as a whole, and how premium, how high end the site comes across. So I think investing in good photography or good renderings is important with any e-commerce website.
I think you're touching on something that's really important. Even bigger picture is you can have all the great marketing in the world, but then if you lead them to a shitty site, it's just going to be a bad experience. And then you can have this beautiful site, but if you throw in low quality images, it completely changes the site dynamic.
Yeah, I think they definitely go hand in hand, you know, having those like really, you know, high quality images
Yeah.
go along with the new UX, refreshed UI, having, you know, everything look high end to, you know, be a good representation of your, you know, product and your company as well, you know,
Yeah.
goes a long way.
And then the flip side of that is you can have the shiniest, best website in the world, and without the right marketing, and without the right eyeballs on it. And we talk about it as having a Ferrari in the garage and then not pouring gas in it, or putting gas in it. So
When we talk about design, copy, digital marketing, a lot of that stuff is also very front facing. That's what people see. That's like the shiny thing.
Yep.
But the one thing that's like underestimated, I think, in a lot of these projects is the development. Like it's the engine that like actually makes things work. Like can actually get people to buy. Like people are just like, well, it shouldn't take that long to do this, or
Yep.
how come we can't make it work like this? But there's a lot that goes into that. What do you think from a development standpoint?
I mean, the approach to development was, and as I was pitching it to Giver, I looked at the experiences of Canada Goose and REI and North Face, and came up with a wish list of like, this is cool, they have this customization feature, or this is cool, they have this sizing feature, and then pitching it to them as far as, hey, here's what we can do. The sky's the limit of what we can do, but obviously there's budget and time constraints that we have to frame it around. And so for us, it was really bringing the best we can do on Shopify and as their platform of choice and as a leading platform in the world in global e-commerce. It was just awesome to be able to build out that initial wish list, and some of it was off the shelf, out of the box. A lot of it was customized, and so for us to hand them the keys to something that's scalable and now easy to change was a goal. So it's not just the shiny stuff, but it's also, hey, this change took 20 minutes before, and now it takes 20 seconds.
Yep.
And so for them to be able to move faster means that they can sell more. And so that was always the goal with everything that we were doing in development.
I would jump on that and say it was a fun experience where, when we were being creative with it, they have personalization. How do we exemplify that into a customer experience that they can really feel like, wow? So the design team put together this great concept of, well, it's just simple. You just type in the letters and off it goes. And looking at development, and them just thinking about sizes, mobile, desktop, tablets, different size gloves, different color gloves, like how those letters render on there. And emojis, right? Adding in custom, more personalized features to it, which didn't exist before. From a development standpoint, was kind of like, hey, really, really cool. But man, the team really did come through and make that happen. And that was a huge challenge.
Yeah, because a lot of it is like just the client dreaming and then us not trying to crash it down to earth, but also trying to figure out like how we can do it within a reasonable time frame and stay reasonably within budget. But the emoji thing is cool because that's not even something they were able to do before, and the system gave them the ability to answer a need that their customers had asked.
Yeah, St. Patty's Day, you put a 4-leaf clover. We have stars, moons, happy faces, hearts for all sorts. Now they can really customize and personalize on seasons and people, all sorts of things. So it really did open up an avenue that the customer wasn't able to get before.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that started with research. We looked at Lululemon's experience, like the customization piece. We looked at Ralph Lauren's experience and Nike and how you type something in and it changes and you change the color and the whole thing shifts and moves. And while we didn't build all of that out, we built what we could and what they were able to budget out for.
When you spend a lot of time with someone, people say that you start to sound like that person. And I think
so much.
Yes, that's exactly what I said. The
Let's
word
rumble.
The words rumble and stoked especially, I feel like I've used more in the last few months just naturally.
We did learn from them. Like it wasn't just us lecturing or teaching,
No, for sure.
or and really helping them, but it did go both ways. That does share that partnership. It really was something that. I mean, we're in it, and I mean, not only the clothing and stuff, but just our day to days. I mean, we text each other. Like they're a part of us as well.
Yeah, it was cool to have like so many points of contact with a client, not just like one or two people who were in touch with, but all of us kind of knew all of them, and that was really special.
That was really good.
Yeah, and I think that's come from multiple trips to Jackson and them sending some of their team out here to spend some time together, and it goes beyond just Zoom and phone calls.